There's a car coming and I'm really awkward, so I'm gonna turn away for a second so they don't see my face. I spent my whole life thinking that Christianity was about being a good person. And as a perfectionist, that'll make you really, really angry with God and with yourself because you're constantly reminded that you are not good enough. By the time I graduated high school, I was done. It's like, when I get to college, I'm not going to church anymore. And like, why am I even doing this in the first place? I view God as this person who only loved me when I was good and really, really despised me when I was bad. And that's a really toxic mindset to find yourself in. So when I got to college, I was done. And as a perfectionist, I moved my worth to what I made. As a filmmaker, I knew I was bad. I could always tell when I had a flaw. I could tell when something was wrong. I might not know how to fix it, but I could always tell when something was wrong or when something wasn't that good. Like even the work that I've made now, like, dude, I only see flaws when I see that stuff. So I have to like limit the amount of watch my stuff. So that led to multiple years in college of me making stuff. And if the next video I made wasn't better than the last one, then I just wasted my time and I suck and I'm terrible and I'm never gonna be a filmmaker and I'm not good enough. I attributed every flaw I made to my self-worth. And I still had this lingering view that like God is real, but like the more that I did this to myself, the more I was actually really, really frustrated with God. I was like, why did you even make me? Why did you even do this? If you're just gonna tell me that I'm not good enough all the time. Like if you're just gonna show me with the stuff that I make and the interactions I have with people that I'm a flawed, broken person and that I'm not good enough to be worthy of love. Like, why are we doing this? And I remember I was sitting in my car one day waiting for a presentation where everyone had to show the short film that they made at the end of the year for class. And I was waiting in my car with my friend, and I remember gripping my hand so tight that my fingernails were cutting my hand. I was just anxious and terrified that everyone was about to watch the short film that I made, and that if they didn't like it, then that meant that I'm not a good person. And this may sound crazy, but I know there's other people that deal with this as well. This is a real thing. Tying your worth to your work is a real thing. And I had a friend sitting next to me, and the friend sitting next to me said like, hey, like, why are you so anxious? And I said, because everyone's about to watch my work. And they said, okay, and like, but why is that making you anxious? And I said, well, because if it's bad, I mean, I see the flaws in it. If they see the flaws in it, then they're gonna think I'm terrible at filmmaking. And, you know, I was probably 20 at the time. And for the first time in my entire life, someone told me, that person sitting next to me told me, do you realize that you're more than what you do? And like, I'm a Christian, so like I know like the right answers to things. And I was like, yeah, obviously like Jesus is everything, and like kind of brushed it off. But like 4 years later, I still think about that all the time. That I needed someone to tell me that I am worth more than what I do. And if you've never heard that before, I want to tell you that you are worth more than what you do. Now, what am I saying by that? What does that mean? Your worth is not in how good of a friend you are. Your worth is not in how good your morals are. Your worth is not in how talented of an artist you are, or creative, or a person who works a 9 to 5 behind a desk, working on a computer, or someone who works with people all the time, someone who works in heavy labor, someone who works in, you are more than what you do. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying that. Because as I came to learn in college, Christianity is not about being a good person. There's a lot of religions out there that make a way for humans to work their way back up to the perfection of God. That if you can be a good enough person, if you can do good enough things, if you can work hard enough, if you can add enough value to this world that we're in for such a limited time, then you can work your way to heaven or to have a relationship with God. What makes Christianity different that I realized in college is that it had nothing to do with what I do. It's not about how hard I work. It's not about what I do to make God love me versus not love me. It's not about that. I had it all wrong. I think I got so caught up in traditions, going to church a certain amount of times, reading my Bible, knowing the right answers, that I thought, oh, I am good enough now for God to love me. But the truth of the matter is, nobody is good enough for God to love you. Nobody. Because, you see, the standard is perfection. And me as a human am far, 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 far from perfect. If you think about it this way, God is a perfect score on a test, a 100 out of 100. Me, human, am terribly, terribly horrible score. But let's just say that I wasn't a horrible score. Let's say that I actually did a really good job here on earth. You see, God is perfect, so he can only exist with perfection. So let's say I live my entire life and I do one thing wrong my entire life. All right, I'm a 99 out of 100. And I die and I walk up to the gates of heaven. I'm like, yo, what's up, God? Let's do it. I'm a 99 out of 100. I was pretty close. You're 100 out of 100. Hey, one away, Can you let me in? I would like to come into that place because that looks pretty cool. And the truth of the matter is, God is a 100 out of 100. He's like, you're absolutely right. I am a 100 out of 100. I'm perfect. And I just want you to understand that if I were to let you in, a 99 out of 100, you would bring my average down. If I were to let you in, you would bring my average down and I would not be perfect anymore. So I'm really sorry. You tried really hard and you did a lot of really good things. But unfortunately, I can't let you in just because it would affect my score. I would be freaking out. See, even the most perfect person on this world, except for one flaw, and you've had at least one flaw. Don't lie to yourself. You've had at least one flaw. We're all at least in that 99 out of 100 category. Now, that's very, very, very generous. But one single milligram of imperfection costs us an eternal distance between God and me. So that's the situation we all as humans find ourselves in. That's that hole that we feel, is this distance between me and God. What I'm trying to tell you about is how you can bridge that gap completely by doing nothing except understanding what Jesus Christ has already done for you. You see, all these other religions, you're at this 99 out of 100 and you're trying to work your way back up. If I can just do a good enough things before I die, then maybe I'll get close enough. And it's always this assumption of maybe he'll let me in. Maybe like a 7 out of 10, I'm pretty confident God will let me into heaven, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think that it would be cocky if I said I was a 10 out of 10. So I'm going to say 7 out of 10 to be confident. What I'm saying is that you're either a 0 or you're a 10. Because if you attribute it to anything that you do with that analogy that I just brought up, you will never work your way back up to a 100. If you got one thing wrong, it doesn't matter if you're good the rest of your life. You will always have the thing that you did wrong on your record. Always. And because God is perfect, he's perfectly love, he's also perfectly just, which means there has to be a consequence to sin. And so God's solution for this is that he said, hey, I'll meet you where you're at. I'll come down to this earth. I'll live the perfect life that you should have lived, and I'll die the death that you should have died. I will face the consequences for all of your sin on the cross, and I'm actually going to come back 3 days later from death, come back to life, and defeat sin and defeat death to show you that only I can do that. Only I can be perfect, and only I can defeat sin, and only I can defeat death. And his name is Jesus. Dude, I'm getting wrapped in the weeds right now. Oh, shoot. Getting wrapped in the weeds. I've had to go to the bathroom for like an hour, and this went way longer than I thought. And the name of that person was Jesus. I'm sure you've heard of him. Pretty famous guy. Pretty controversial guy as well. But what I want to say is that Christianity is the only religion where God meets you where you're at. He says there's nothing that you have to do except believe in me and turn from your sin and walk with me. Jesus doesn't stand over here and he says, hey, you need to do this to get over to me. What Jesus does is he says, hey, come with me. Let's go. Let's go. We got ways to go. I hope any of this made sense. Long story short, we're broken, far from God. And there's no way to bridge that gap with what you do. There's no way to fix this hole with relationships to feel like you can be loved by a person enough to fill this hole because it's temporary. No way you can do that with jobs or money because that's temporary. It's all fleeting. It all goes away. There's no way you can do that with being a good person because at the end of the day, we all fail and we all fall short. So if your standard is perfection, you're going to be nowhere close. God is perfect. I'm nowhere close. So what I'm saying is, accept the invitation. God has come down to this earth in the form of Jesus, lived a perfect life, died, came back to life, and has asked you to follow him. Now, what does that mean? I'm a broken person. I'm full of sin. I have a full brokenness. Is he asking me to be perfect and now I follow him and I have to be perfect the rest of my life? No. I'm a broken mess. I've been following Jesus for years now. I'm going to be a broken mess for the rest of my life. That's not what it's about. You're attributing it, again, to what you do. See, Jesus says, when you follow me and you have a relationship with me, I'll do the work. I'll do the cleanup work. You just got to trust me, man. And don't give me just a little portion of your life. I don't want a little portion of your life. I want all of it. And if you trust me with all of your life, I'll do the work, okay? I'll do the work. So that when you die and you go to the gates of heaven and God says, yo, I'm a 100 out of 100, you got to have that score to come in. And you stand there, a pitiful 0.00000000001. You can stand there without fear and say, hey, I get to walk in here because this dude is the 100 out of 100 for me. And God will say, come on, let's go. And I've talked so long, I no longer have to go to the restroom. I didn't go to the restroom, so I don't know what happened there. Just to be clear, all Jesus asks you to do is follow him and believe that he is the one true God and that there is no way to heaven except through him. Jesus says, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So I just want to clear up any misconceptions. There is one God, and he's asking to have a relationship with you because he loves you so much, and he's seen you struggle for so long, and he's seen you hurt for so long. I just want you to know that more than I can love you, me, Jaden, as a person, Jesus loves you perfectly, and he's been waiting a really, really long time to have a relationship with you. And if you want to know more about that, hit me up in the comments. We'll talk. We'll see if I post this. I don't know.